Oh, cross my legs. Okay. Hello. That was aggressive. Hello. So today I decided I'm going to do a small wrap-up of some books that I've read recently. I have no dates right now at the top of my mind, but they will be in the title. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about a couple books that I've read and that I have some notes on. I love taking notes while I read. My problem is sometimes I start reading a book and I know that it's not a book I'm going to keep. So that's why I have this journal where I go ahead and I write down all my notes so that way I can go ahead and donate the book to the library or send it to my sister if I think that she's going to like it. I want to talk about first a couple of books that I'm reading. The first one is The Storm Runner by J.C. Cervantes and Kingdom of Souls by Rena Barron. So I just kind of want to talk about them because of initial thoughts that I have, and then eventually I'll put them in a wrap-up video. But we'll start with The Storm Runner. So I got this because I obviously love Percy Jackson, and I wanted to get into the different mythological worlds. I really loved Red Pyramid. Wow. I really love the Red Pyramid, so I got this one first. It's about the Maya mythology. So far I'm halfway through, and it started off kind of slow for me. I kind of didn't enjoy the character right away, but now at about, how many pages am I in? 188 pages through. I really love this story, and it's giving me old Percy Jackson vibes. So it's really a funny story. Like, there are just moments where I find myself laughing out loud. I think that J.C. Cervantes has some really good connection to these younger characters. I think that's why initially I had trouble, is because it's been a while since I've read a middle grade like this, where it is more for middle grade. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just took me a second. And so I love these characters. I really love the use of Maya mythology where it's not overly explained, but it does kind of have those moments where he goes into detail. So far, my favorite quotes have been, he finds out that, well, is this a spoiler? I mean, you're gonna get some spoilers today also, by the way. So, like, if you don't want a spoiler, fast forward a little bit. I'll put the time stamp here. My favorite quote right now is he finds out that he can read people's minds if he touches them and he trusts them, and they can hear his thoughts if he allows them in. And his quote is, he likes this girl and she touches his hand and they can read each other's thoughts, and he goes, "No offense, but how do I keep you out?" And that just really was funny to me because it really is such a middle school reaction. A young boy who has his big crush on a girl going, "Oh no, she can read my thoughts. She can hear what I'm thinking." So yeah, I really love it. I think it's really cute. I'm going to try and finish it this week so that I can get the second one and finish that series. So yeah. Scene. Okay, the next book I am reading, Kingdom of Souls. So this is the cover. First off, I am a cover buyer. I buy books most of the times if I'm not recommended it because of the cover, and this cover is so good. It caught my eye immediately before it was recommended to me, and I had bought it, and someone said, "Sydney, you need to read this because I think you'd really, really like it," because I do love fantasy, and I love the magical elements of fantasy, and I love when stories use magic in a different way that I haven't seen before. And I think so far I'm only 100 pages in, and it's a 400-page on my Kindle. So far, I really think that the magic element is so unique, and I think I'm gonna do a whole video on the book because I just love this book so far. But my main thing that I'm going to talk about, instead of just going through everything I love, because I've already written so many notes, is how Rena describes magic. And everything, I'll talk about this more, but everything kind of has a color. And she describes a lot of things with color and textures. And for me, that is so different and unique and brings so much life to this magical element. And the fact that our lead character can see magic and people can see magic floating through the air and stuff. I don't know, maybe it's not new, but it's new to me in a novel, and it's just so beautifully described that, I don't know, I'm just in love with this book already, so I'm really excited to finish it. I think I'm going to finish it today once I'm finished filming. Now on to the wrap-ups. So I'm going to try and go through these kind of fast because I have quite a bit, I think. So the first book we're going to talk about, I actually have right here. I haven't been able to donate it yet. It's Havenfall. So unfortunately, I DNF'd this book. And I'm really sad that I DNF'd it because I was really excited about this book. So I was online purchasing a bunch of books with gift cards that I had from my birthday. And this synopsis caught my eye. And I thought it was a really, really good concept, but it wasn't executed that well. I didn't like our main character, and I think that for me is the biggest thing. I'm a character person. If I connect with the character, then I will forgive so much. I just think that this book, what it feels like is it feels like it was rushed. It feels like the author had their concept and then kind of rushed to get the book out. Because a lot of the action is not thorough. There's a lot of inconsistencies between actions and dialogue, and also there was a lot of repetition, almost to the point where I was getting really mad, like the author kind of thought I was dumb, and I know that's not her point, and she's very young, but my thing is, I read her first two books, which were Everless and Everlife, and I think it's Everlife. I hope it's Everlife. And I just was hoping that her writing style would kind of develop. With each book, there are many people who, with each book, their writing gets better and better. But with this, I felt like it was kind of the same. It was just stagnant, and I didn't care for the lead character. At one point, I started to get really frustrated because she kept repeating that she belonged in this place, and I'm like, the more you repeat it, the less I believe it. Also, the same information was beat over our heads so many times that I just was like, listen, I don't care anymore. Like, I just didn't care. And what's so fascinating is there were a couple elements that I highlighted in my notes where I was like, I want to know more about this. She mentions there's a character from this, so the whole point is there are 5 kingdoms, I believe it's 5, and they all meet in Haven, which is Earth, basically, and it's different universes, and they all meet through this hallway, so it was kind of like Narnia in a way, and that was another thing. She mentions Narnia, and I was like, well, if you're going to take inspiration from Narnia, Narnia exists in this world, so I don't know, it was just a kind of interesting plot point that I didn't really care for, but so they meet, and like those from Earth or Haven are not able to go to the other realms, there we go, not universes or kingdoms, it's realms, because they could die, and so they're all trying to protect themselves from this one realm that's supposedly really bad, and they have like vampires. And what I found with this book is there were certain elements that were so cool and I wanted to know more about, but she just glossed over. Like, one of the ladies in it has scales on her cheek, and that's just normal in their realm, but I wanted to know more about that because I already knew that humans can't go into that realm. I want to know why, like, what those people look like, and I want to know what they sound like, or what they wear, what's their fashion like, you know. And for the most part, it just kind of became about a forced romance and a really predictable plot. And so I DNF'd it. I kind of skimmed ahead. I skimmed towards the end to see what happens and to see if my predictions were right, and they were. And yeah, so I just was really kind of sad that I had to DNF it, because it got so frustrating. I couldn't finish it. I couldn't do it to myself. So that was a really long ramble about Havenfall. I do think that younger readers wouldn't mind it, but for those who are older and who prefer older young adult fantasy and adult fantasy, this one is not kind of worth your time. But again, you may have a different opinion than me, and that's totally okay. Okay, so next I did the 2 Adventure Zone graphic novels. So the first is Here There Be Gerblins. This is my first graphic novel that I've ever really read, actually, as a graphic novel, and like with the mind that this is technically a book, and I am okay with that. I listened to the Adventure Zone. It's based off a podcast by the McElroy brothers. I really liked it. I was kind of nervous because I have only listened to Graduation, which is the like 3rd series of the Adventure Zone podcast. So I didn't really know these original characters, which is Taco and all of them. But I found myself getting into it, and I found myself not needing to have listened to the original series to understand what was going on. I do think you need to have a small bit of knowledge about Dungeons and Dragons to kind of get into it, but even still, I think it's described really well. It's a really fun fantasy adventure, and I found myself laughing out loud. I just think the McElroy brothers are really funny and just genuinely sweet guys, which is why I bought this as my first graphic novel. And I got the second one, which is the Rockport, Murder on the Rockport, I believe. I don't know, it's on my Kindle. I did like the first one better. I did like Here There Be Gerblins better. But I think it's because the second one sets up for a larger plot towards the end. So I'm really excited for the 3rd graphic novel to come out. And yeah. The next book is The Therithmatist. So I kind of talked about this one in my ranking video, but I really liked this. I didn't know that, so this is my first Brandon Sanderson novel. I didn't know that it was meant to be a children's novel. I don't think it really read too much as a children's novel, except for the dialogue between the 2 teen characters. And I think that was my only problem with this book, is that they're supposed to be 16, but they kind of talk like they're 11 or 12. But again, it's been a while since I've been 16, which is like, I say that as if I'm so old. But I just mean, like, I don't remember kind of the conversations I used to have at 16, so I don't know, it could be really accurate. I found this book really funny, really charming. It was very light. It reminded me a lot of Chalk Zone, which I said in a previous video. It reminded me so much of Chalk Zone, which was one of my favorite TV shows as a kid. So I really appreciated it, and I appreciated how creative it was. And so I'm really excited to get into his other books, because The Therithmatist was a good book to start with. So I think I'm going to say this as someone who still has yet to read the other books. I think The Therithmatist is a really good start to the Brandon Sanderson novels, because you kind of get a feel for his writing and his universe building and his world building without feeling overwhelmed. So I'm going to do Warbreaker next, and then the Mistborn series. I have those waiting for me. Oh, also with Therithmatist, Melody was my favorite character. Melody cracked me up. She had so many lines where I found myself dying, and I think it's because I was a Melody. I was very loud and dramatic and didn't give a diggity darn my entire life, and I just loved that. I loved her character. I thought she was hilarious. Anyway, that's just a side note. Next is Emma. So I wanted to start reading a few more classics, and I had watched Emma, the 2020 movie version, which is so good. It's so good and funny, and I had never liked Emma, ever. And I think it's because I don't like the Gwyneth Paltrow version, and that's the only version I've seen. So this was my first time reading Emma, and I really liked it. Now the thing is it's kind of dense, and I think that's because during their time they obviously had more time to fill and to read. So the really, really intricate details were a blessing and an added bonus. But today's day and age, it kind of was just like, okay, I get it. There are certain scenes that really didn't need to be in that novel, but again, it's a classic, and I did think it was hilarious. As far as classics go, I think it's a really good classic. If you guys have any recommendations on like good classics to get through, I would love your recommendations, because I haven't gotten through a lot of classics, and it's mainly because I feel like I am not smart enough to read them. I just feel so dumb when I read them. I mean, I get she's really witty and sarcastic, and there were certain things that I definitely understood, but there was a lot of other stuff that I was like, I reread the paragraph like 20 times going, I don't get what she's trying to say. But also Miss Bates and I, she's me. I love Miss Bates. Just take that with what you will. So the next book is Luxe. Now, okay, so I really liked the first book. I'm a sucker for rich people going through shit, and I don't know why. Maybe because it makes me feel better about my life, whatever. I liked this first book. Luxe was pretty decent, and I was like, okay. And then I saw it was 4 books, and I got scared. And I got scared for the right reasons, and I will get to it. But focusing on the first book, I really loved 2 of the main characters, which was Elizabeth and Diana, the sisters. I've read a couple reviews where people didn't really like Elizabeth, and I can kind of understand because she is kind of a prima donna brat to her maid. I'll get to the maid in a second. But Diana and Elizabeth have a kind of relationship that reminds me a lot of my own sister and I, and who we are, and I don't know, I just thought, I thought Diana was hilarious and a really fun character, but I also think Elizabeth was a really heartwarming character and someone I could connect with in certain ways. But then you had Rena and Penelope, and Penelope is just the brat who's rich, who thinks she deserves everything and she doesn't, but at least she knows who she is, so I didn't really mind it. What I disliked was Lena's characterization, where it was literally just poor me, and then she wound up doing things that were really rude and bad and just was not a nice person, so I didn't root for her in a way. I understood where she was coming from in certain respects, but then at the same time, she never she never took responsibility for her own actions, and you see that coming up in the second book. So yeah, my end thought is I knew where that book was going. I could predict everything that was going to happen. I still thought it was cute, and there were certain things that I really liked about it. There wasn't any representation, and I think that's obviously a problem. Also, there's an end twist that you see coming. You know it's coming. And it was just kind of brushed off. It happened in 10 pages. And it's a really interesting twist. And I'm going to put spoiler alert here. This character fakes her own death. And I think that's such a cool twist. Like, in any story, I think it's so fascinating. Because faking your own death is really, really hard. There's a whole book about it on how to do it in real life. So, like, I think that's really fascinating. And then to only get, like, a page about it was really frustrating to me, because I was like, they were building all the way up to this, and then it's like, yeah, she just faked it. She's gone. And it's like, no, I want to see more about it. I want to see her dealing with the concept of leaving and faking her own death. I want that conversation between her and the best friend, who's not really her best friend, deciding to go through with this plan. I wanted to see more, and I felt like it would have been a better twist, because they already got us in the beginning of the prologue where you think someone has died. So you already know that there's going to be a funeral. So you already know, though, that she's going to stay alive and that it's fake. So let us in on that secret. It's okay. I want to see more of the development and the plan. Then we get to the second book. And I was so mad. I didn't want to finish it, and I actually found myself skimming a few chapters, mainly Lena's chapters. Didn't give a diggity darn about where she was going, what her story was. I didn't like it, but in the end, I was mad about where all of these characters were going. And I'm mad because I bought the third book thinking I was gonna like the second one, and now I don't want to read the third one because I hated the second one. The second one was so bad in the sense of all the character arcs were lost. They killed off a main character for no real reason. Like, it was just the shock value. At least give me a reason for why you're gonna kill this person. And it's just brushed across. It's like this character meant so much to another character and will deeply impact that character's story arc. And it's just like one page and it's never discussed basically again. And the mom is like, just forget it. Forget it ever happened. And I just, like, I get that that's probably the society or whatever, but I had a lot of problems with it. I was so done by that point because all of the character arcs were kind of destroyed, and it's not like there was any good representation. It's not like I was getting anything else out of it. I was just getting mad. So I will not be finishing this series, which kind of sucks because I did buy the third book. Maybe one day I will read the third book just for the heck of it, but right now I'm still too mad to do that. And that's that, actually. That is my wrap up for right now. I will do I think another wrap up soon when I finish Stormrunner and Kingdom of Souls, and then I want to get into a couple of other books on my shelves. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening to me rant. Unfortunately, there weren't that many great reads this time around. Emma was really great. Therithmatist was really great. Kingdom of Souls is going to be amazing. I know I'm going to have a really high rec for that. If you have any other recommendations, go ahead and send them to me. I'm gonna do a couple more videos soon. I kind of want to go ahead and do my favorite characters and put them into what bending style I think they are. Like my favorite characters from my favorite books. Because I think it's really fun. And yeah, but anyway, thank you so much for watching. I don't know how to end this video, so thank you for watching.